We're so pleased you've chosen to follow our AdoptED podcast. I'm Joseph Sandegato, the Director of Communications and Public Relations for MARE. And at MARE, we believe that the best way to help introduce the process of adoption from foster care is through education, hence our cutesy little title of AdoptED. The theme for today's show is Surviving the Holidays. On our podcast today, we'll be talking about how to survive the holidays, but really, we're talking about managing time off and downtime during the winter. We'll also have a visit later in the show from Jill Cummings, who is an experienced adoptive parent. She'll share a bit with us about her strategies for getting through downtime during the winter. And without further ado, I'm excited to kick off the show with our opening segment called At the Table. Joining me at the table is my co-host and producer of this podcast, as well as a digital communications specialist for MARE, Jeremy Smith. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you. Wow, you make it sound so official. So many titles stacked up there.
Lots
great.
of titles. It's good. We got to get them all in, right?
Right, exactly.
So, Jeremy, our topic today is surviving the holidays. But really what you and I are talking about here today is kind of strategies to get through the winter when you have kiddos with time off from school or you've got weekends to fill, it's snowy out, it's hard to get out of the house. You might remember that we did a related topic, Mo and I did, as we headed into summer. And while those strategies were great for warm weather, like Mo's idea to visit the pond, to look at in the water, that could be a little bit tough during the winter.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different situation in the winter. Yeah, for sure.
Get out the ice skates.
Yeah, I grew up down south, so just recently for Thanksgiving, went to visit my family, and the weather was beautiful down there. So it's in the mid 60s. Came back to New England, and I'm commuting, on my bike.
In a snowstorm.
Yeah, in a snowstorm, with snow pelting me in the face. Bit of a different situation.
Yeah,
sure.
So we do have some seasonal, things that get affected by the seasons here. So winter can be particularly tough, for any family, since the weather and temperatures may not be really that great for going outside. So what I thought we could do is, we've kind of put together a list of some tried and true resources, some of the things we may have mentioned in this, the summer episode, some things that are a little bit more specific to the fall. So I thought maybe you and I can just take some time and run through them. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. So one of the things that we talk about during the summer, and because the summer is really extended, the context in which we had the conversation, Jeremy, was that kids lose a lot of skills. Over the summer break.
So much time away from school in a row.
It just, you're just not practicing, right? So my first tip is schedule time for reading during a break. Now, it's not the same necessarily as an 8-week break, but many schools and school systems, I've talked to a lot of parents who have a couple of weeks off this year at the holidays. And even over that period of time, it can be tough. So not only is it keeping their skills on track, but it also gives them something to do, right? And I think the best way to teach a child to read is to sit down with a book and read with them.
Exactly. Time spent together reading is huge.
Either read them the book, or you take your book, they take their book, and you have time where you're just
family reading time,
modeling.
Yeah. And I think it can be a really good opportunity to embrace parts of the season, You have that image of your mind of like cozying up next to a fire with a book.
Right.
And usually, that ideal image might be by yourself when it's quiet, away from the kids, but bring the kids into that, turn it into a family thing to do together. We're going to have this cozy time where we're reading, maybe bring hot chocolate into it or something like that.
Sure.
I think it would be great with
a couple of blankets, some fuzzy slippers.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's the thing. If you get the kids to read, guess what they do when they're reading and they're older? They're quiet.
Right.
They're quiet. You get your quiet time.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's great. All right. So number 2, I don't know, I may be just a little bit your senior or a lot.
Just a little bit.
But listen, when I was growing up, we used to play school. Did you guys play school when you were growing up? Ever? Was that ever a thing where somebody pretended they were the teacher and others were students?
No, we didn't usually play school.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had no technology when I was growing up. You had to be creative. But I brought this back, and I think a lot of people may remember things like pretend play, right? But this is a construct where like you set it up so that someone's a teacher and someone is a student, or multiple people are students. And a lot of times, like I don't know, for all parents, but in our school district, when they run extra sheets of stuff, like extra math sheets or extra, and they've got a surplus, they send them home with the kids. So you can stack those up. You can use workbooks. You could print stuff online, but it's a I think the word you used was trick them into...
Right.
Right? But in a lot of ways, it's encouraging them. Trickery may not really...
Right.
Kind of a negative connotation, but
if you're setting, if you're kind of arranging one of the kids as the quote unquote teacher or something,
right.
Everyone loves to feel like they're an expert at something.
Sure.
So like getting to play that role or,
Right.
can still be fun.
look at the personalities. If you got people competing to be the teacher, make them subject teachers. But,
Right.
The idea here is that you're giving the kids something to do. It's practical. You have them use worksheets or some other materials that relate to their schoolwork. It's keeping them busy, but it's also reinforcing skills, but it's play.
Right.
Right? It's just play. Okay. Number 3.
This is a classic.
All right. You take this one because this is a big one.
Yeah. The one of the most obvious things to do when the weather isn't good and you still want to go somewhere, go see a movie. And
I agree.
this is one of the this is sort of a cheat sheet answer because I feel like it's good any time of the year. Whether it's summer and you're like it's blazing hot out, I don't want to be outside. We're gonna go inside.
Air conditioned theater.
Air conditioner, yeah.
Yeah.
In the winter, it was like it is snowing out. I want to go somewhere warm but still get out of the house.
I agree. But do you know why this ended up on the list more than any other reason?
Tell me.
Well, so it ended up on the list because one of the times when most children's movies come out are at the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
The other time is in the spring. So while your go-to may not be a movie, and with so many of us who staying home now and you just, stream everything, Netflix and Hulu and on-demand stuff, right? A lot of people no longer thinking about going to the movies. But think about it. If you're trying to really encourage your children to participate and to gain some skills, then what better way to do it than to get out into the world rather than sitting on devices all day?
Sure.
So I think go to a movie, and I mean go to a movie.
Right.
Pack everybody up, put their little snowsuits on, bundle them all up, get in the car, drive to the movie theater, right? That gets everybody out of the house. It breaks cycles if you've got kids that are kind of on each other's nerves. It's just a nice outing. It's not cheap.
Get out of that cabin fever, kind of break that up.
Not cheap, but that's okay. It gives you a bit of a day out. Okay. So I've long been an advocate, and we've talked a number of times on this show about the idea that you get a lot from community and from other parents.
Absolutely.
Right? Who are able to not only support you, but can understand where you're coming from and so forth. Why not have play dates?
Yep.
Right? I mean, I think that's so. All right, it's another one that's kind of like the movies, like, of course, why wouldn't we have a play date? But really, structure play dates and structure play dates with other families who have kids with things in common, a parent who you've got things in common with. It's winter, and we tend to just like to hibernate during the winter, right? We don't want to really go out. We don't want to do much. I think it's just important for you to get out as a parent as it is for your kids to get out. But it's nice to just, again, you're getting out of the house.
Yeah. Out of those same routines, same habits.
Right.
And, if you are able to arrange it with some family friends or, another family that you're close with, where you can sort of trade off, where the kids are hanging out.
Ah, that's the key.
Yes. So not only do the kids get to do something interesting, they get to go see their friend, it's a time they're really going to enjoy. But it can also be a restorative time for you as a parent where you have a little bit of a break.
And if you have friends who are willing to do that trade-off, where you have to bear the burden of having a whole brood of children in your home, and you can do that for each other, how great is that?
Yes.
An afternoon to read a book, to relax, to go to the spa if you wanted to get your nails done, get your hair done, do whatever it is that's restorative for you.
You can do that cozy book reading by the fire by yourself this time.
Yes. In actual quiet, right? Go get a cup of coffee, go to your favorite coffee shop.
That's one of my favorite activities.
Yeah,
get the cup of coffee well made, sit down or going to a coffee shop.
Right.
That's what's great. Yep.
You know what I walked by the other day?
What was it?
Your favorite place from our old office.
Cafe Nero.
Cafe Nero. Oh,
yes,
it's good.
That's a good one.
All right. So back to the list. Okay, ready?
We promise we're not getting paid by Cafe Nero.
We're not getting paid by Cafe Nero, but we loved Cafe Nero.
Yeah. But if they did want to support foster care, they could. So Cafe Nero, if you're listening, reach out to us.
We'd be more than happy to. And if any of our listeners are coming to the office and you happen to go buy a Cafe Nero, I wouldn't say no to a cup of coffee.
Right. Yes, exactly.
No, don't bring me anything, really. Okay, back to the list. Okay, so something that Mo and I talked about during the summer also was to visit your local library and to check out not only the books, but other resources, right? They might have passes to local attractions, museums, cost-free resources that you can access. And even during the winter, while it may be a little bit more limited because your outdoor kinds of activities won't necessarily have passes available, you can get lots of museum passes.
Oh, yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah, lots of stuff available.
But as much technology as we have available, I don't know about you, Jeremy, but there are times where I'm trying to think of a particular theme or topic or place to go or something to do, and you turn to technology and you look at technology and you don't feel like you've gotten any further than when you started.
Right.
Library is still this structured place. If you go in looking for passes, there's going to be specific passes.
Right.
You're not going to have to look at the Googleverse.
Right.
Did I just coin that? Is Googleverse a thing?
I think you did just coin it. Yeah.
The Googleverse, right? You get 10,000 pages of searches for a museum.
You're completely overwhelmed by the amount of options. How much is this going to cost? But whereas you can just go to the library, get some concrete options that are probably going to be very local, accessible to you.
Right.
That's a great way to go.
And typically free or very discounted.
Right.
And P.S., this particular one also plays back into the whole reading and practicing. And, while you're there, pick up a book for the kids.
Yep.
Got it for a couple of weeks. I don't think that's changed, right? Most libraries still get it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And if you don't read it in time, as most of the time I don't, you can renew it.
Yeah. Sometimes you can renew it online.
Yeah. They have so much stuff available now, whether it's books, movies, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Some libraries even have games you can check out.
There's all kinds of stuff. And you know what? I was just, you prompted me to think about the fact that when I was recently setting up my new Roku TV, they are also not a sponsor, but if Roku is listening, they're more than welcome to sponsor the show. I came upon, there was an option. So, with Roku, you can have different apps, basically, or different connections to different platforms. And one of the things that I came across was something called Hoopla. And Hoopla, do you know about Hoopla?
Yes, my wife uses this all the time.
You want to talk about Hoopla for a minute?
Yeah, so Hoopla is an app you can have on your phone. They may also have a computer app. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But it allows you to check out ebooks from local libraries directly through the app. So the same way you might read an ebook on a Kindle or something along those lines that you buy from Amazon, you can check it out for free from a library and read it right on your phone or a tablet. And I think it works with most tablet devices Amazon Fire and stuff like that.
Or your iPad or whatever. Yeah. Right. That's fantastic. You can also get movies there. Yeah. Do you guys get movies at all?
No.
Oh, they do have a movie collection as well. And I don't know if I know through my phone app I can see it, and it's definitely part of my Roku, and I think that's probably why Roku has it. Obviously, you're not going to read a book on your TV, right? But I thought that was really interesting. And we talk about getting out and how important it is to get out, but sometimes if the past couple of, days have taught us anything and in early December as we're recording this, it's that sometimes you can't get out.
Yeah. Literally the snow is too high.
You're snowed in. So as long as you have power and Wi-Fi, you can still get a book.
Yep.
So that's great. Okay. So what else, Jeremy? What kinds of things? I know you've got...
There are two things I would add to this.
Go.
Two things that I would add. One is board games. So the world of board games is so much bigger than it used to be. I know
crazy.
Growing up, your options were Monopoly and Mousetrap, basically. Connect Four, yeah. But now there are so many different kinds of board games that you can play as a whole family. And even if you just go to Target or Walmart and kind of look at the board game section, there's so many more options. And a lot of them really do involve critical thinking, social skills, and it's a good family bonding activity, even if you're stuck in the house.
No, that's true. And there's a lot of them.
Definitely for sure.
Spelling.
Yeah.
Right. Think about,
word
Scrabble, word association, number pairing, number sequencing. There's a lot you can do with
thinking.
Games.
Some of them are strategy games.
Right.
So teaching like strategies and thinking critically.
Right.
That's all good skills. And kind of along that same line in that puzzle game type category, I would also suggest Escape the Rooms. It's a common thing where you go and as a group you have you're put into a room that's basically full of puzzles and you have to figure out the puzzles in order to escape the room. And if you have a larger family, this is great to all do together. And again, It's getting out of the house, going to activity.
Right.
It'll be fun. It'll be memorable. It is a little bit more, on the expensive side. So you're not going to do this all the time.
Right. But to do it once in a while.
But do it once in a while. Yeah. As a treat.
Okay.
And if you have this, this may not work for every family, but if you have kids who enjoy that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
It could be a really good experience.
Yeah. Probably not great for kids who don't like confined spaces or feeling locked in.
Yeah. Or if you
adults.
don't. Yeah.
Or
yeah.
Or adults.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think so this is just, obviously things that probably most people have thought of. And the one thing that this doesn't include is, any of the technology stuff. Other than to say that like Hoopla, you can use your phone for or whatnot.
Right.
We're trying to think of things that get kids off of devices. We assume that you all don't have children who have a hard time finding their devices. Right. So I also just wanted to share a little bit of a refresher from our summer episode. And I think for this one, Jeremy, why don't you and I kind of maybe alternate these topics and tips. So the first one is seize the moment. When your children express an interest, encourage them to talk about it and explore it further. Follow their passions. Find out what amuses them, excites them, inspires them. Pick activities around their interests. Winter outings may present opportunities for your child to learn about history, biography, nature. Seize those teachable moments to encourage your child to listen, read, take a picture, add to a postcard collection, even write in a journal. Check your local Department of Parks and Recreation for up-and-coming events. And I say that because we traditionally say that about summertime, but there are some places where people go snowshoeing and hiking and cross-country skiing.
Yep.
So, but I guess the idea about this one is to bring us as parents back to a place of just, we also get busy. I'm talking about the kids being on devices, but we're all on devices. Right. And sometimes when you're home with the kids, you're just going to check a work email or you're just going to do, right? Seize the moment is about living in the moment and being present in the moment. So if your little one of any age says, I'm really interested in dinosaurs. I really would like to try cross-country skiing. That's the point to have the conversation and to get it staged, to get them ready, get them prepared, find the resources. And doing that together can be great. So that's my seize the moment tip.
And so many times, we're sitting here talking about, what are the ideas of what we can do in the winter?
Right.
So many times the kids might have the ideas, seize the moment. They bring up snowshoeing or something like that. Maybe you've never been snowshoeing. Seize the moment. Let's try it out.
Yep.
I think that leads right into our next point, which is simply talking and listening. And I think your point is a good one of just being attentive. Sure. So removing the distractions and actually being attentive to the people that we have in our life, in our families. So, if we are attentive and we actually kind of look for opportunities to talk and listen with our children, it's good for their development. It's good for our relationships with our children. And, as we listen to them, this is really... their first experience with language and how literacy really begins is in those conversations with you as a parent. So finding opportunities to just talk about everything, use words they don't understand and maybe explain it to them. Encourage your child to talk by listening to what they're saying and actually attending what's important to them.
Right.
Just those basics are a great way to spend time in the winter as you're cozied up by the fireplace.
I agree. And did you notice that I used active listening skills while you were talking?
I did. You were nodding.
I didn't interrupt, but I nodded. I made eye contact, which is very boring for people who are listening on an audio
But
platform.
I appreciate it.
But that's,
yeah,
we're all about supportive.
Right.
All right. So my next one, a bit of a point ad nauseum, I agree. But read. Instead of losing those reading skills, why not just have the kids read during winter breaks? And, by the way, when they're young and you have to read to them, the fruits of that come out later when they're able to read for themselves and have an appreciation of reading. And the other thing I think that's a really good, sort of benefit to reading is that if you are a reader yourself, or even if you just want a little time to yourself every now and again, encouraging kids to read means that there will be times where they will pick up a book and be quiet, and be participating in something, which may give you the flexibility to do things that you may need to do or give you time to read. So even though I guess, a lot of times, to put it in a different context, we oftentimes say that with interns, for example, right? We'd always tell the interns, the trade-off on an internship is that we spend time teaching you something, and then by the end, you're giving us something back that's
They're
equal to or
contributing.
more, right? They're
Right.
contributing. It's the same thing with reading. It's the same thing. You're investing up front and teaching the children these good skills, but you just need to do it. And so libraries and online resources now have audiobooks. So one of the things that you can do is, have your child engage with audiobooks. There's a resource called Epic. And Epic is a child's reading platform. Many of you might be familiar with like ABC Mouse. By the way, Epic and ABC Mouse are not sponsors of the show.
Right. We're just on the hunt for sponsors.
We're just, if they happen to be listening. Right. I know this joke is getting very old for people listening. So Epic is often used by school systems, but you as a parent can also buy that. You can stage books. You can have books that have audio on or off. So for an emerging reader or a child who's moving into the next reading level, they can have the audio on to practice and listen to, but then you can turn it off. It's got quizzes at the end. There's so many resources. So even for kids who are, for kids who are a little more challenged. And I don't know why I would lay this on you. Were you a comic book reader?
I wasn't.
Okay.
Actually.
I saw you maybe as being a fan of the comic books.
I always wanted to get into it, but never did.
I think comic books, for kids who maybe don't want to read a traditional chapter book, but would be interested in the more artsy side of things, I think a comic book is great.
Yeah.
And we also, the other tip here that I have written down is the whole web access, but we talked about that whole hoopla piece, right?
Exactly.
The idea that you can just access the library from the web. So not that we don't encourage you to go in person, but if that's all that you have time for.
Yeah, it is available.
Yep. What's next?
So next on the list, we just have encouraging math and science. That's another thing that you can incorporate into your everyday activities, whether it's cooking or gardening, sewing, using a calculator, playing board games, as we mentioned, estimating distances and amounts, or recognizing patterns in design and music. These are all just simple, basic ways that we can build math and science skills in everyday family life. So that's another great way to involve the kids during the winter.
I agree. And dovetails. It's getting a little late in the day. It dovetails with something we talked about earlier, which is the whole idea you can have kids play school.
Right.
And bring math and science into it. And, math and science is important because we all know that really, the acronym STEM?
Yes.
Science, technology, engineering, math, right? That's sort of a platform for the construct for today's schools, for emerging and in contemporary schools. So make sure you keep math and science in there. The last point here is encourage writing. And I agree. People who read more, though, often write better.
Exactly.
The two go hand in hand. Now, I will tell you, having some kiddos with some very specific special needs, sometimes one side of that equation may work better than the other.
Sure.
But I'll tell you this, practice, no matter what it is, whether you're deficient in reading or you're deficient in writing, practice only helps.
Yep.
So the more you write, the better you get at writing. I just had my little 10-year-old, it was funny, he was putting together his spelling, did you have a spelling list when you were growing up?
Oh, sure.
And you had to write them, and sometimes you had to use them in a sentence.
Oh, yeah.
He also has a journal. He has to write about his weekend. And, by 10 years old, they expect you to be a little more independent. He was having a hard time and does sometimes have a hard time with writing and with remembering how to spell words. So guess what he got? What do you think I gave him?
I don't know.
A dictionary.
Whoa.
Congratulations.
So arcane. That's amazing.
But he was actually thrilled to be able to look it up, understood the concept. It was my old college dictionary, so it had like the little indented tabs with like
That's
A,
great.
B, C, D, the directory kind of built into it.
Nice. They have all the words collected
do they
in
have
one
it?
place. I don't even have to Google them one by one.
So we'll see how long that lasts.
Right.
But he was thrilled with the idea of using a dictionary. But you can also, do writing adjacent stuff, right? So keep a winter scrapbook. You can fill it with postcards, ticket stubs, photos. I mean, if you're getting out and about and doing things, why not create memories and document those memories? Right. Not that we don't all take a million pictures, but there's something very different and tactile about a scrapbook or a place where you collect these things versus, hey, let me roll through my phone and look at the past 4 years worth of photos.
Creatively arranging them, I think it accesses really a lot of different parts.
Totally different parts of the brain.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. So there's our list. Any kind of other activities you can think of? Anything that we missed here? I think you added some at the end of the last segment.
Yeah, I mean, there's all those outdoor activities that we didn't talk about. The obvious ones like sledding and skiing and ice skating that aren't available during the summer. So finding ways to go out and do those as a family are great.
Yeah, and snow play and crafts and science kits and board games, which you mentioned before, all kinds of stuff. All right, great. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you walking through this list with me. I'm hoping our listeners get something new. There's really nothing new under the sun here, but by the same token, we're hoping to inspire you to think in new ways about how you can connect with your children and make the best use of that downtime.
I feel inspired. I after listening to all the activities, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for winter. Here we go.
All right, good. Well, I'll see you out on the slopes. We'll be right back after this short break. This is Joe from AdoptED. Oftentimes people ask me how they can help to support our cause if they don't want to become adoptive parents. I think a great way to help support MARE and to increase awareness around the need for adoptive families to support children waiting for adoptive placements in foster care is to host our Heart Gallery. The Heart Gallery was originally created as a stunning display of portraiture and professional photos of children awaiting placement, and now is available in its traditional format and in a digital format. If you'd like more information about how your group, your community center, or your workplace can get involved by hosting the Heart Gallery, please contact me, Joe Sandagato, at joes@mareinc.org. Welcome back. And now it's time to introduce you to some of our waiting children. Today, we'll learn about Gavin and Marcus. This is probably a good time to remind our listeners that they can find information about either of the boys at our website, mareinc.org, by clicking on the Meet the Children tab and entering their ID numbers. So Jeremy, tell me more about our kiddos today.
Okay, so first we have Gavin. He's 11 years old.
Okay.
And he has the cutest little crooked smile you've ever seen.
He's got a great smile.
And he really enjoys making people laugh, which I really love as a quality. So he's playful. He has a great sense of humor. And some of his favorite things to do are reading and playing basketball.
Oh, mine too. I
yeah.
like that.
So the people who know Gavin say he's engaging. He loves connecting with others, and he's really well liked by his friends and kids he's in school with.
Okay.
So our listeners should know that Gavin is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. So if you feel like you're a family, that has the strengths to parent a child with autism, he could be a great match for you.
Sure.
And where he brings so much to a family. And he is really smart and enjoys sharing that knowledge with others.
Okay, great.
So he's legally freed for adoption. And he'd be a good fit for a family where he can be the youngest or only child.
All right. And we talk about that all the time. So the legally freed for adoption piece just tells us where he is in terms of his engagement with the department. So that means that, there's still minimum requirements for families waiting. And with regard to family constellation, he needs to be in a family where he can be the youngest or the only child. And there's reasons why we do that. And so just keep that in mind. And it looks like he needs a family that can provide him with structure and consistency and being open to maintaining contact with his sibling.
That's right.
What a cute guy. So, all right. So Gavin was
and his registration number is 7640.
All right. So you go to Meet the Children on our website and enter 7640, and you can see the picture of Gavin and his great smile. And who's next?
So next we have Marcus. He's 13 years old. His registration number is 5253.
Okay.
And so he loves Legos and origami.
He's also got his picture. He's got a little swag.
Yeah, he does.
He's got a little hair. He's got the sweatshirt. He's pulled together.
There's some Jello product in that hair. He wants to look nice, which I really appreciate. But I also love that he's into origami. It's such a
I think that's great.
Yeah, unique hobby.
It's not something you see a lot of.
So he is just such a bright and intelligent and active kid. He loves to be supported and interact with adults in his life. And as many teenagers are, is a big fan of video games.
That's a big surprise.
And when he's outside, he loves riding his bike.
Great.
So in general, he's, a sweet, loving kid who needs to feel supported. And he would do really well with a family who can support him with math and writing in school.
Okay, great.
So Marcus is not yet legally freed for adoption.
All right.
And he would need a 2-parent family to help balance all of his various needs. So this family would need to be comfortable with setting limits, creating structure. His thinking can be concrete at times. So a family that can present things clearly and concisely would be
Patience.
very helpful.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. He loves animals and would thrive in a home with pets.
Nice.
So if you have pets, Marcus might be a great fit for your family.
Okay. And
He should be the only child in his new home.
okay. So when we talk about the family constellations all the time, and we always reiterate them. So here we're looking for a 2-parent family, and we're looking for someone who has no children or whose children are no longer living in the home, who've maybe gone off to school or gone off to their life, right? And then also of note is that he has 8 siblings, one of which is a twin, which he visits when he asks, and he also has a brother in a program who visits when he requests it.
Yeah.
So family should be open to those criteria. Well, great. Well, Jeremy, for anyone interested in learning more about these kiddos, let's remind them what the process is like.
So you can visit mareinc.org and view the Meet the Children section of the website. You can call 617-964-6273 to get in touch with us. You can attend a matching event or stop by one of our various community events where you can learn more.
And coming up in February, we have a roller skating party.
February, that's right.
And then later in the spring, we'll have Beanstalk over at Jordan's, and then our whole schedule starts up again.
The whole shebang.
Yep,
Yes.
but if you go to the website and click on the events tab, you can look at mayor-hosted events, and that'll show you all the current events. Well, thanks for joining me, Jeremy. This has been very educational, and of course, working with you is always good. I appreciate it, and I look forward to co-hosting with you again soon.
Looking forward to it.
Great. We're going to take a little break, and then we'll be back with our special guest, Jill Cummings. We'll be right back. Welcome back to AdoptED. This is our Adopt Talk segment where we get to meet community members who are involved in the foster care and adoption process. Joining me today is Jill Cummings, adoptive parent and PACT coordinator for the Worcester East Area Office of DCF. Welcome to the studio, Jill.
Thank you.
So, Jill, for full disclosure, I've known you probably for 4 or 5 years now, maybe even more, right? I mean, we met in the field through a parenting support group.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it was there that I learned about you and your family, and we both learned about some similar challenges we had with some of our children. We both have big families. I have 7 and you have 5?
5.
Right? Okay. So specifically today, we're talking about surviving the holidays. But really what we're talking about is, what do you do with downtime? How do you keep the kids motivated and busy? And so I'd like to ask you a few questions to get things started. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay, perfect. So again, this month's podcast is Surviving the Holidays. But I really just want to talk about how you deal with chunks of downtime. But before we do that, how about if, since I know you, this is going to seem like an odd question, but for our listeners out there who haven't met you, tell me a little bit about how you came to adoption and ultimately adoption from foster care. What was the beginning of that journey like?
Once I married my husband, we decided we wanted to start a family. Didn't quite work out in the traditional sense, and so we immediately started to explore adopting. I was an only child. I am an only child, and I had wanted a sister or a brother through adoption. My parents did not pursue their route for whatever reasoning, but that was something that was always near and dear to my heart, so it seemed like a natural thing to do.
Right.
And so we started the process. I had always wanted to adopt from China. So we started that process, but that is not an easy process. And they changed the rules mid-process, which was difficult. When I signed up to with an agency to do that, it was approximately 13 months. And then it took us 3 years.
Wow. What year is this, for reference?
This was 2005, 6.
Because there was a lot going on with the State Department at that point, and they were really changing a lot of the engagements, right?
Yes.
For international adoptions.
Yes. China is a pretty predictable they have a predictable set of rules, and as long as you fulfill them, they don't pull the wool over your eyes typically like you can in some of these other programs. So we felt China was very predictable. Unfortunately, they changed certain requirements in the middle of us in the process.
While you were in process of doing this.
Yes, and so we had to be put on hold for a year. And then after that, we decided to proceed because what happens is you get a single chance at it. And if it doesn't work out,
That's
you're
it.
done.
Just
yes.
one and done.
Yes, one and done.
Okay.
And so they wanted me to sign all sorts of things that if this wasn't going to work out, it was no fault of their own. So we did choose to take the year off, and then we proceeded. It's a very long story, but we proceeded. And it was actually taking so long that I said to my husband, I think we should do the MAP training.
Right.
Through DCF,
Right.
and we did do that, and we got through all of the home study, and we were just about to start on that journey when we got a phone call that there was a little girl in China that had special needs, and would we be interested in adopting her? So we immediately said yes. We went to China. When we came back, I called DCF and I said, okay, we're ready to adopt. They said we had to wait a mandatory 1 year, which we did. Mm-hmm. And after the mandatory 1 year, we called and we started the process. And it took some time to kind of search for the next. We were looking for perhaps a little girl to add to the family, but there was not any little girls at the time. And so the only thing that came up after approximately a year and a half or so was a sibling set. And so we took that sibling set into the family and we adopted them within 9 months. So that's kind of where we started.
Can I walk you back for a second? I'm curious about something that you said, and it's not that I haven't talked to other folks who've engaged in international adoption, but you said China was a one and done, but you didn't even know, it wasn't like for a specific child. You didn't find out who the child was until later in the process, right? It wasn't like you made application for a specific child. You made application to adopt an unspecified child.
Unspecified child.
Wow.
So what they do is when it comes to China, and some other countries as well, you basically, most people knew at the time China was little girls. There weren't boys at the time. Now there's both. But that process has changed a lot. But yeah, no, you don't know. What they try to do is they try to match you up with a child that they think that would work for you. Now, I don't know how they would find a 9-month-old that would work with my husband and I, because I don't think a 9-year-old is showing, that they particularly like one thing or another.
Sure.
But with the special needs program, when you pursue the special needs, you are going for a specific child. So when they called and said, would you consider a special needs child? I said, yes, tell me about her. And they did, and they sent pictures. And
then that's more specific.
Yes, so we knew when we were going that that's what happened.
Okay.
But I will say, before you travel to China, they do send you the file of the child that you're...
So you do get a disclosure like you would domestically?
Right beforehand, yes. And then you decide, is this going to work for you? Yeah, the main reason is you want to take their medical records to an adoption professional.
And have them reviewed. And
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm sorry. So I cut you off. You were into the kids came. So the SIB group came.
Yes, the sibling group.
Okay. And at this point, we're at what? 2007.
2010. 2000.
Okay.
2010. Yep.
Okay. Because of all the time and processing with the China adoption, that just ate up.
Yes,
some time.
That took 3 years, and then we had to be on hold for a year with them, so that kind of got in the middle of things.
Yeah, 4 years of...
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was 2010 when they called, and it was June 9th, and we added a 2 and a 3-year-old to the mix. So I had a 4, 3, and a 2-year-old all at the same time.
You're brave.
Yes.
I think I've said that about you a couple of times, maybe.
I didn't know how brave I was until I tried a Target shopping trip.
So we're at 2010, and we've got a 2 and 3-year-old. You've already got a 4-year-old, right? So
they were adopted within 9 months, which is pretty much unheard of.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. And then you didn't stop, because we've already given away the punchline to all of this, or not punchline, but the ending.
Because
there's no teaser. You have 5, right? So tell me about the other 2. How did you continue building?
So we took a break, and we thought our family was finalized. Unfortunately, the younger 2 that we added to the family, we discovered had a lot of issues due to trauma.
Okay.
And so I went to my husband and I said I thought that we should do foster care so we could help build some empathy skills in these 2 children.
Okay.
Which he wasn't right on board with. But he came around.
You were persuasive.
I was persuasive.
Okay.
I said that I'd do all the work because I'm the one that's at home.
Well, it was logical.
Yeah, it made sense. And so I called DCF and said, we would like to pursue short-term overnights,
Okay. Right.
hotline, nothing long-term. We didn't want children long-term. We weren't looking to adopt at all. We were actually looking just to foster.
Gotcha.
And I didn't want to have any long-term because once they come in long-term, we don't tend to let them go.
Gotcha. So short-term hotline. These are quick stays.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We didn't want to fall in love too deeply so that we couldn't let them go. We wanted to have them come into the house, love them, take care of them.
And help reunify them with their families.
Absolutely.
I mean, exactly what foster care is supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Right? So, okay. So, wait, we're still
what
only
happened?
at 3.
Right. Okay. So what happened? So it was working wonderfully. We had a couple of children come in for short-term placements. It was fantastic hopefully for the child, also from my family. But then we got a phone call in February.
Okay.
And this was 2015. And it was the Friday before February vacation. And they asked if we would take a little boy for a couple of days, which we agreed to.
Sure. It was within your parameters.
It was absolutely. And then they said that he really didn't have anywhere for him to go. So could we just keep him for the rest of the week, which was school vacation week? And I said, sure, absolutely. Why not? Then on Friday, they proceeded to tell us they still didn't have anywhere for him to go.
I see.
So at that time, I said, unfortunately, the needs of my middle two specifically, they really need me to be there full time and that I cannot take on another child at this time. So they offered us daycare so that I could still take care of my other children.
Okay.
And he would be in daycare. And my husband
How
said...
old is he at this point?
He was 8 months old.
Okay. So young. Very young.
Very young. So my husband said, absolutely, he's a wonderful kid. We'd love to keep him.
Great.
Yeah, so
there you go. So now we're at 4.
So now we're at 4. And he was or is a sibling set of 4. Two of his brothers
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, he's a set of 4. There's 2 older brothers.
Okay.
They went to another home.
All right.
And his sister, he had a sister a year older, and she went into a home in Worcester. And she was long-term placement because originally I had agreed to take both children.
Okay.
But they said, no, where you're not permanent, we know where we can put her for a permanent stay. We just need to find someone for the little guy. So these 2 little ones, they were all each other had. They were very, very, what's the word? Bonded. They were very, very bonded.
Sure.
So in June, my DCF worker came by and said that my little girl now that was in foster care at the time, the foster mother was going away and she needed to go into respite. And I said, please let us have her. As it is, they've been taken from their parents.
Right.
Then they move into a foster home, and then the foster home goes back to their home country, which was the Dominican.
Okay, gotcha.
And so she was going to the Dominican, and so the little girl had to go into respite. And I said, let us take her so she can be with her brother.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, are you sure? I said, I can keep all 5 alive for 10 days. That's all it was going to be, 10 days. But it wasn't 24 hours into it when my husband says these 2 need to be together.
Of course.
So we both.
So there you are. There's your.
Yes, we both firmly
4 and 5.
agreed. Unfortunately, DCF didn't agree with us, and so after that stay, she did go home, or back to her foster care home. But then in December, they asked us to take her again.
Was the intention with that foster care home to let her stay there in the hopes that it would become permanent with that home if things didn't work out? No,
not at all. She was going to be reunified with her parents, or she would move on to a pre-adoptive home.
Gotcha.
We weren't pre-adoptive. We were simply...
But just knowing that you initially were not open to creating permanency, they wanted to look for somewhere else for her, right? So
absolutely. But at this point, we really knew in December when she came, we really knew not only did she need to live with us, but that we wanted to adopt the 2 of them together because it looked like they were going to be available for adoption. Unfortunately, there was a lot of mishaps. And so what was supposed to be 3 weeks in her joining the family ended up being 6 months.
Which I think it happens, right? So I don't. There's this sort of dialogue out in the community that it's planned and it's willful and it's. I think sometimes circumstances are what they are and things happen the way that they happen, and even with the best laid plans, sometimes things can change, right? So I mean, you've got to be a little bit, I guess, flexible. I tell parents all the time the biggest thing you have to be in this process is really flexible, open to just understanding that things can change and that expectations can change and that plans can change. And that's really the only constant.
You have to be flexible and know that a lot of it is completely out of your control.
Right.
This is being handled by attorneys. This is being handled by the court system. There's being
clinicians. There's
DCF.
Yes.
Then there's the birth parents. It's totally out of the foster parent's hand. You just have to be willing to ride the roller coaster.
And you can advocate, and there are steps you can take. And it's really easy for type A's like us, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let me get us back on track. Thank you for sharing your story. I always appreciate, and our audience appreciates learning where people are coming from. And I should mention, just so I don't forget, you wrote a 3-piece article for our blog for us, too. So if you finish this podcast and you want to hear more from Jill, you can actually go to the Mayor Family blog and read more about her story. So Jill, I want to talk about really structuring time with the kiddos, right? This is the holiday episode. It's December, and we're kind of on that school break and between Christmas and New Year's, and kids have downtime. But I guess I'm thinking about it from a year-round perspective too. And you and I having larger families means that whatever we do, we have to have a scale of economies that includes all these people, right? We're not taking one kid to get a Happy Meal. We're taking 6 people to McDonald's. We're not going to a museum with, a parent and 2 children. We're going with a car full of kids, right?
That's correct.
So tell me a little bit about how you structure your time with the kids. I mean, I think I know the answer to it. We've talked enough about this, but tell our audience, how do you structure the time with the kids? How do you like to keep things moving along, whether it's vacation time or just everyday time?
During the school year, they obviously have school, and then typically after 4 out of my 5 play soccer.
Okay.
So there is always somewhere we have to be shortly after school. And then we come home and we do homework and dinner and go to bed. During the weekends, I typically try to get them out and bring them places, something affordable, basically.
Right, because again, scale of economies, I mean.
Exactly. Yeah. And so what I try to do is I try to kind of rotate in my mind both things that cost money and things that don't cost money.
All right.
So if I can find somewhere that doesn't cost anything, then we all head off to something like that, perhaps on a Monday during school vacation.
Okay.
And then on Tuesday, I might head to something that costs money. So I do try to balance it out. Because obviously, so I don't know about you with 7, but with us to go anywhere, it is approximately $250 to $300.
Yes. And that's not including dinner. I mean, that's like an activity.
That's me carrying goldfish in my pockets.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. So let's talk about, maybe you and I can talk a little bit and share some of our secrets about favorite places to go and how to access things. One of the things that I tell everyone, and actually we had a show over the summer where we kind of touched upon this topic. I tell them, check your local library.
Absolutely.
A lot of times there are free passes, right?
And not just your library. You can
neighboring libraries.
Yes, you can tap into other neighboring libraries as long as they're on the same system.
Right.
I always call the library, but I do happen to know that one of the libraries has some tickets that I would love to access. And they're not necessarily free. A lot of them have to be, they might be 10% off.
Discount or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So not only your own library, but surrounding libraries, you can absolutely call them and they will let you use their passes.
Yes, but I think about everything. Sturbridge Village, Plymouth Plantation, history museums, art museums.
Butterfly places.
Oh, the butterfly place.
There's 2. There's one in Westford and Crossroads. There is, and I'm escaping, but the one out by
up on
the Yankee Candle.
Yes, up
the flagship
Greenfield,
store.
up by
Yes,
Greenfield.
yes. So, but that even I haven't checked lately, but I think is $15 to $18 or so a person.
Yeah.
So, and that adds up when you've got this many people.
And when you can get a pass. Right.
Absolutely.
A lot of these places at the library, and I will tell people there's usually a pass at the library, and it's
Correct.
checked out and checked in. So sometimes there's a wait list, or some libraries handle. Some say there is no wait list. You just have to come back, and if it's here, it's here. If it's not, it's not. But that's a great tip, right, for a way to get out and about. When you're going to pay to take the kids somewhere, and here we are, and it's December now as we're talking, and it's gotten a little bit chillier, and summer is easy because you can be outside, and so it's winter. What kinds of things do you like to do during the winter with the kids? Like, do you have any favorite Christmas, New Year break kind of traditions?
One of the things that I love to do before Christmas is go look at the lights. That's one of my favorite.
Yeah, go drive
things.
around.
Yeah, absolutely.
It kills a whole evening. Just kind of
absolutely. Springfield has, I think it is either the night of Thanksgiving or the night after Thanksgiving,
where they open up Forest
Where
Park.
they open up, yes, Forest Park, and it's cheaper. So it's say $10 a carload versus $20 a carload.
But that's a whole. That really takes a long time. The last time I did that, we were in the car for quite a while. You're cruising through fairly slowly and.
Very slowly, and you still have 5 or 7 kids in the back, which are not quietly reading. They're usually arguing with a sister or brother. So we are fortunate enough. We actually have a DVD player.
Yeah.
So we bring lots of movies
to get out there. But I'm talking about the actual drive-through itself. It's very pretty. It's a
beautiful drive-through.
It's a long. You spend some time, and you tune your radio, and you get Christmas music, and it's themed, and it's fun, and. We make a whole night of it. We'll have dinner and then go and do that. And
it's a lot of fun. But try to go on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, not a Friday or Saturday night.
Right, because it gets really busy.
It gets even more crowded, and I believe the fee is a little higher on that. Yes, but that's one of the most favorite things that I like to do. In the past, after Christmas, I'm not someone who likes my decorations left up. So
really shocking.
Yeah, it gets a little messy for me. So on December 25th, somewhere around the 13th hour, I'm like, can I pull this stuff down now?
Time to clean up.
It's time to clean up. I want to get the stuff put away. It's just the type A in me. But what I typically have done in the past is after 2 or 3 days, we clean up, we put things away, we go away somewhere.
Oh, nice.
It is costly, and so we haven't done it the last 2 years. And as you know, you can't get one single hotel room.
No, not with that many kids.
Yes, right. You have to get the presidential suite in order to fit the entire family. But that is something that we've done, and what we'll do is we'll stay for New Year's if they have a party there.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So that
keep
we
the
can
kids busy.
Exactly. So there's an indoor swimming pool. I make sure I don't go anywhere without one.
Okay.
Because they love to swim, and it makes them tired, and it makes them go to bed.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing. So the first night's tough, but once the next day they're swimming and doing crafts and whatever else
keeps them busy.
Yeah, so there's
it's good to break it up, right?
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
Breaking up that time.
Yes.
I'm thinking at this time of year too. Our friends over at Jordan's Furniture have their Enchanted Village.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is really nice, and it's a way to spend some time and to really stretch out an afternoon. I'm also thinking, did you take advantage of the Edaville trip or the Edaville participation with Wonder Fund?
Absolutely.
It's cold. I'm going to tell you, I've been there with the kids. It's cold, and it's it can be a little bit tough because of that. But if you pick the right day, beautiful ride through the cranberry bogs, all lit up at night. The attractions were open on the day that I was there.
The kids love the rides. The train ride is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because you can get to see everything lit up.
Right.
So it's completely worth it. And one thing about Eatable I notice, and I'm already getting the stuff, for every month will tell you if you can get so if you bring a donation of food, like food pantry, you might get a cheaper thing.
You get a discount.
Yes. If you have a first responder in your family, they might get in free, but the rest of the family doesn't. So there are ways around that.
Well, I always look for those deals. Right?
I do as well. Unfortunately, we can't always take advantage of them, but it's something that these kids, I always say that they are not going to remember when they got their 30th Tonka truck.
Right.
They will remember the memories.
I agree. I was just saying to someone the other day, we always were fortunate in that we had a place to go with the kids other than home. So, over the years that meant we had a motorhome, for example, in New Hampshire at one point. I mean, it doesn't mean we have got, houses all over the place, but we had other places to go. That's kind of how we managed it with such a large family. And getting away can be a little bit tough, but you're right. You got to look for those discounts. And I also think about all the online resources, whether it's looking for coupons or Groupons or, there's a lot of ways you can save quite a bit of money. I know one year we got the annual pass to the Newport Mansions. And they do an amazing Christmas
that's on my
display,
list.
and you get to go see Santa. And when you do it in the breakers and the 2-story vaulted room, and it's gorgeous. But I'll tell you right now, that family pass, which got my spouse and I in, plus any child under the age of 18, and at one point in time, that was probably 5 of us going in or 6 of us. That pass cost less than us touring just a couple of houses.
Right.
And I got it because it was a Groupon special, and we went back. We used that a couple of times during the summer. But I think there are ways you can be economical, because I think that's one of the first things people think about. Especially, I meet a lot of people like us that have big families, and you have to be frugal to make it all work sometimes.
You do. I will say there are little tricks I've learned along the way. For instance, so for me, I have never been a big pass holder. Some people love Davis Farmland for the younger kids, and they go over there all the time, and it's completely worth it. I look at it as life is so short. I want to experience new places often instead of redoing some of these places.
Right.
It just depends on how you feel as a family. But if for someone who say loves the zoo, these zoos often are connected with other zoos. So you get the pass for one zoo,
right.
but you can
and you
visit
can go to different zoos.
Exactly.
That's smart.
It is cheaper to, per se, go through Buttonwood.
Okay.
Which is in, I believe, New Bedford, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
If you get a pass through Buttonwood, it's cheaper, but you can use that pass at other zoos that are more expensive.
That's a good hack. Look at where the networks of these places lie.
Absolutely.
And find the cheapest entry point.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, that's a pretty good life hack.
Yes, absolutely. Now, we have one membership. It's to Tower Hill. My girlfriend has bought it for us twice in a row now.
Okay.
Tower Hill is in Boylston. It's absolutely beautiful.
Gardens.
The Botanical Gardens.
Beautiful year-round. They change the displays year-round.
They do. And at Christmas time, they do have a whole Christmas light display, which is wonderful. You do have to buy additional tickets, but you get a part off for the membership.
Right.
But that allows you to go to the Blythewood Mansions because they're connected with other places. So you can go to the Blythewood Mansions down in Rhode Island, which is gorgeous. You can also go to Heritage Gardens down the Cape. So you have to tap into the places that they're connected with.
Sure.
So you're seeing other things, and it's I like it because it's not Chuck E. Cheese, which my kids probably would prefer.
Well, yeah, but you don't want to. I mean, whatever your thing is fine. I'm not, saying that people shouldn't do whatever they enjoy.
Right.
But I can only go to Chuck E. Cheese so many times.
Oh my goodness.
We've got a little arcade where I live down at the Cape, right? And arcade is not like, when I thought arcade, I thought, oh, when we grew up, arcades were just a bunch of video games. No, this is an arcade like a carnival arcade. Games everywhere,
Yep.
and you can only do that so much.
Well, it gets expensive, and
Bowling you can only do so much.
Right, and for some of our kiddos, keeping them regulated is important.
Right, and
arcades
walking into an arcade where there's bells and whistles and dings and lights.
It's not keeping them at all. But Tower Hill, we're looking pretty flowers. We're outside, and they say nature is very good for you. You're touching the ground, so it tends to
be calming.
I find it to be calming. Yeah. Yes.
Well, let me transition into, I wanted to, thank you for really helping us and the audience think about, how to kind of keep kids busy. But since it's this time of year, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your thoughts on, do things get a little more chaotic around the house because of the children's history? You talked about kids who might have more sensory, kind of issues and so forth. But it's also, I know for a lot of kiddos that, this time of year can also bring out some behaviors or concerns.
That's correct.
So what are your thoughts about that? Do your holidays get a little more chaotic because of the kids' history, or is it just the time of year, or is it a combination?
Absolutely. I think are telltale signs, at least with my children, and I've noticed it with others as well. During the year, there's especially hard times for them. So the first couple of days of school, first 2 weeks of school, they love it. They're getting to meet their classroom.
Right. It's exciting.
Their
it's new.
classmates. Yes, it's new. It's exciting. They're in love with their teacher. They think everything's fantastic. About 3 weeks in, when we're really requesting some demands of them, then they start going a little
Have
haywire.
to start reading, doing the homework.
Exactly. So then we usually hit kind of I want to say more of a calmer area in the beginning of October, but then about a week before Halloween, you got to get your game face on, because from Halloween through Thanksgiving through Christmas, between the school excitement and the excitement of home and getting the tree up or getting prepared for Thanksgiving, it is very difficult for these children to stay regulated,
so
which makes it hard for us.
Do you have strategies? Are there things that you do to kind of improve this? Like, what do you do about that? Is there something successful that our audience might learn from you?
You know, it's been 10 years that I've started parenting, this parenting journey now. All of my kids who need it have teams in place through various organizations. So we have, clinicians and psychiatrists and everything that we need to tap into. But I'm starting to realize that in order for me to be the best parent I can be, I need to do a little self-care, which has always been something I've not been, and I don't do nearly enough of it. But just getting out for a few hours with a friend while your partner's home watching the kids, or even if you have to get a babysitter, which isn't always easy. But I find that that's huge, because it does rejuvenate you just enough to deal with them the next day.
Couldn't agree enough. I couldn't agree more. And you're right. You have all the systems in place. So that's one of the responses, is having systems in place to help support the kids. And that's important for people to know. And I agree with that. I mean, that's one of the best ways to manage it, is to have a good therapy team, and to have, you might have people coming in the home, and you might have folks at school or an adjustment counselor working with kids, all important. But you were really right to bring that up, because all too often, those of us who are involved in foster care and adoption put ourselves last.
Absolutely.
I think parents in general, but, especially as I meet parents who are foster adoptive parents, we're just so programmed to paying attention to the needs of children. We forget about us. And you're right. It's good. I mean, as a matter of fact, that's how we met, was getting out and being out in a support group and away from, taking a little bit of downtime. Because to be the best parent to them, you have to be the best you. And you can't be the best you if you don't take a little bit of a break, right?
That's true. I think we met when we were going through some trauma training together.
Probably.
If I remember.
Oh, you're right.
Through luck.
You're right. That's when we first met. Yes, you and I were doing the RPK trauma series and the Invisible Suitcase and
we
tried the train the trainer.
Yes, all of that stuff.
You're right. But I don't think we probably didn't really overly connect at that point.
No, we didn't at that point.
We got to connect again later. Well, listen, this has been amazing, and I can't believe that our time together is over. I want to really thank you for, coming into the studio today. I'm sure our listeners will learn a lot from everything that you've shared, and you got their mind spinning and turning. If people want to hear more about you, they can certainly check out our blog, where you've got a 3-part series that you have produced. And is there any other connectivity, any other place? Are you typically out and about at any of the groups anymore?
I am. Adoption Journeys, which is a wonderful place to be involved with. They have support groups, as well as they have trips to go different places.
And you're out of the Worcester office?
Yes, or PPAL. I'm attending something actually tonight with PPAL. I still am very much involved. Is that the Adoption Journey brochure?
Yeah, so
I'm out of the Worcester office.
330 Southwest Cutoff, Suite 101 in Worcester.
Yes. Okay. Yes, so I do some stuff with them, and they have some wonderful support groups, both during the day and the evening.
Great. So if you liked listening to Jill and you read her article and you love what she has to say, you could always stop by Adoption Journeys and meet up with her there. For more information about MARE, our waiting children, or to simply get more info about how you can get involved to support waiting children, please visit us at mareinc.org or call us at 617-964-6273. This is Joe Sandegato for MARE, wishing you a wonderful day, and thanks for listening. Until next time.